This is a show for grown-ups.
And they say bad words.
And they say bad words.
Say final warning.
Final warning.
Hello and welcome to the Pod of Blunders. My name is Nate Magnuski, and I'm here with Ian Yusem, designer of The Drain. Ian, how the hell are you?
I'm doing okay.
Excellent.
How are you doing?
Oh, this is the happiest I've ever been in my whole life.
Wow, that's impressive. I'm glad I was able to catch you on this day. We could share this together.
Me too. So first and foremost, how did you get into the hobby?
Way back when I was but a wee lad, when I was maybe 10 years old, at a sleepover with a friend's house, we messed around with some of his D&D miniatures in, I guess, what you could call a game of D&D, but probably was more like just playing around with the miniatures. And then I haven't thought about D&D pretty much at all since then. And then 4 or 5 years ago, that memory popped into my head. I was like, oh, right, D&D exists. I'm a nerd. I like video games and fantasy novels and that kind of thing. I should play D&D. So I was like, how do I do that? I looked it up online. I watched a few episodes of Critical Role, and then I joined some online D&D games and went from there.
So you're a relatively new convert to the scene, I'll call it, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So what made you change from player to designer?
It kind of happened sort of naturally. I fell into it. I had been playing D&D for a couple of years, then I started dabbling in some other systems. I made friends with some people who were game designers themselves, folks like Christian Kessler, Fiona Geist, and Jarrett Crater, who all work on stuff like Troika and Mothership. They are editors and graphic designers. And so I was playing some really awesome games with them and running some games, and I just started writing stuff like about the games we were playing, and they encouraged me to work on things, and I started publishing stuff here and there.
So I'll say your latest game, The Drain, is a supplement for Mothership. What is it about Mothership that inspired you?
Well, I'd never really played a horror game or a sci-fi game of any kind. So the combination of the two just sort of blew me away, which I guess isn't a ringing endorsement. It just so happens that Mothership is an excellent, well-crafted game. But the thing that initially sold me is just, wow, sci-fi horror is really cool to play RPGs with. I think what's special about Mothership is the amazing adventure support that it has. It's a great system. I love playing it. I think the stress and panic rules are really good. I love its simple, easily gets out of the way when you're running sort of a system, but their commitment to putting out extremely high quality adventure material is, I think, its main strength.
And so you saw this elegant system and you said there has to be a prequel to it almost in terms of a funnel rule that you've made for this, right? I know in addition to The Drain, you also released the backers funnel rules that we can have before we actually get the main game itself. Can you explain to my listeners what in case they don't know, what a funnel rule system is like? What does it do? What's it for?
Sure. So the funnel concept was pioneered by a game called Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I pretty much lifted the concept into Mothership. And that concept is that you take 0-level characters, so characters that are weaker than even a normal starting character, and they generally have some sort of pitiful starting occupation with a couple associated bits of semi-useless gear, and each player runs a handful of characters. So you generally have 3 to 5 characters per player, and that extends to 15 to 20 characters per group, and you run all those characters at the same time through one super deadly adventure, and you see which ones come out the other side. And from your surviving pool, you choose a first level character to then continue the campaign with.
So I've played a funnel for Dungeon World and DCC, and I was enamored by the idea right away. And I've always loved Mothership. And when I saw that you had funnel rules for Mothership, I was like, this is the perfect marriage of concepts. It's like Reese's peanut butter cups, you know?
Yeah, it's a really cool combination. I mean, Mothership is already pretty deadly, and I hang around a lot in the Mothership Discord community, and it's really active and it's constantly growing. It's seeing a lot of new players coming in and asking introductory questions as they're just figuring out the game. And you get a lot of people, saying, "Oh, it's so deadly. I've never really played a game like this. How do I pitch this to my players when they're used to playing these like big heroic characters who never die?" And I think a funnel is a really great way to ease people into that sort of mentality that you can lose characters and it can be fun. Because in a funnel, you're going to lose characters. And the fun is in just seeing exactly how spectacular a way you can lose a character.
I had never considered that as a means of easing people into the idea of losing characters and that being part of the fun of the game. I always thought it was just kind of a way to have like just gonzo ridiculous stories for a session or two. Huh.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that's an extra thing, but the funnel as a teaching tool is also, I think, a real effect and positive benefit to running funnels.
Absolutely. So one of the main reasons I was glad to have you on tonight was to talk about your most recent adventure, The Drain. I'm a backer and I really can't wait to get it to the table. What can you tell my listeners about it?
So The Drain is a funnel adventure where each player is running sci-fi prison soldiers. So they're convicted and imprisoned by a mega corporation and then inscripted to do their bidding. And the corporation in this case, called Preco, deposits all the player characters onto this colony ship called Within Wheels, which is the rumored location of a holy relic, specifically the Holy Grail. And the adventure is about fighting your way through this horrible, war-torn battlefield of a colony ship and making it to the other side and trying to claim this artifact.
So it really is a quest for the Holy Grail.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
pretty much. That's the idea. It doesn't, some light spoilers, it's probably not exactly what you're thinking when you think of the Holy Grail. I mean, given it's a horror thing, you can expect it to be a little darker than what the name implies.
So there's no like melted faces, Nazis, and Indiana Jones and Sean Connery?
No, nothing quite like that.
So was the connection between mega corporations and this weird pseudo-religious thing a natural combination for you for cosmic horror?
Well, to be honest, I borrowed Preco from another Mothership adventure called The Black Heart of Paradise, which is a third-party publication by Schwa Kyle. It's my favorite adventure, period. And Preco is a featured mega corporation in that adventure. And so I reached out to them and got permission to use it in my game. To be perfectly honest, I can't exactly recall which concepts came first, prison versus religion versus religious artifact and all that stuff. But I mean, I think Mothership is a very like late capitalist, mega corporate hellscape kind of setting.
Mm-hmm.
So private prison franchises is a concept that I find horrifically compelling from stuff like Snow Crash. And so I thought that would be a neat inclusion. And when trying to think of which corporation to use here, I think my brain went to Preco just because I like that adventure so much.
I mean, really, it's the horror of total control, whether that's bodily control as in prison or social control as with religion.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's a good combination.
Yeah, that sort of spiraled into adding a lot of, religious themes into the adventure, like the artifact and the farmers who lived on this colony ship where the adventure takes place. So you see a lot of evidence of sort of what was going on here, how this artifact came to be, and that sort of thing.
And you were saying that, or I read it anyway, that Sean McCoy, the creator of Mothership, actually helped you with the art in this as well, right?
Yeah, Sean did the vast majority of interior art on The Drain, all except one piece, which was done by Andrew Walter. He did a fantastic map. But yeah, Sean's art in Mothership, the core book, is so good that it's like a curse on all of us trying to make third-party content because it set the bar too high. In trying to think of artists for my thing, for The Drain, I kept finding people and it's like, oh yeah, but it's like, it's not Sean's, it's not Sean's. So I just asked him directly, like, hey, would you do art for this? And he said yes. So I'm super lucky that I was able to bring him on, and he made some wonderful pieces. I mean, it was exciting to see the art when Sean sent it to me and I got to see the art, but it's even more exciting to see it in context on the page. I hope backers and future buyers will enjoy it because I do.
From the pieces I've seen on the Kickstarter, I mean, it's beautiful stuff. What was it like to have a collaborator like Sean, who, Mothership is his baby, but he doesn't seem possessive of it. He seems to really revel in seeing people run with him these crazy directions. What was it like having his very tacit approval, seeing that he worked on this with you?
Well, Sean, I think generally is extremely supportive of third-party publishers, and he wants us all to succeed. And in running Mothership and being active on the community Discord, and then working with Sean a little bit on some first-party stuff here and there, and some other things, Sean and I have become pretty good friends. So working with him is maybe a little different than if I wasn't friends with him. That might, I see what you mean. Like, Mothership is this amazing thing. It's his baby. So we have a fairly good rapport. So it could be a lot more intimidating than it was. But I mean, it was great to work with Sean. I gave him some concepts or pieces and he took them in amazing directions. He was fairly relaxed about the whole thing. It's probably a little bit less of an intense situation than you might think.
From what I understand, he's just a very approachable person, but I do imagine that it makes it much easier if you're already his buddy.
Yeah. I mean, Sean is just, even from when I was first getting to know him, Sean is, as you say, incredibly approachable and friendly.
I first ran across him, I think, with Tuesday Night Games, and they were doing stuff for Dissident Whispers.
Yeah, Dissident Whispers is an incredible project. I worked on Dissident Whispers. I contributed an adventure, and yeah, that was everyone working on that project had a lot of camaraderie. So I became close friends with a lot of folks there.
Yeah, we did a podcast review of it, and I couldn't be more effusive with my praise on it. It's like a dream project. It's like it's something out of someone's dream. It's so powerful and beautiful, and there's so many people that had to do so much work so fast, and it's just amazing. So thank you for contributing to that. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it was an honor and a pleasure, and it is not an exaggeration to say that working on that project just completely changed my life and my philosophy when it comes to RPG work and lots of other stuff. So I think that project did a lot of good in its charitable work, but I think it also did a lot of good for the people who worked on it. I think a lot of people made lasting friendships and learned a lot.
Looking at some of the other indie RPG heavies that you had on this project with you, like you said, Christian Kessler, Fiona Geist, Andrew Walter, and Evelyn Moreau. Did you meet all these people through Dissident Whispers, or was this just through the Discord or other channels?
Most of these people I've known for a while. Fiona and Christian are my good friends. They're two of the people that first adopted me into the gaming circles that I run in now. I played a lot of pretty amazing campaigns with the both of them. Evelyn, I think I first met through Christian or Fiona. But yeah, I mean, I tend to work with friends. The two people that I collaborate with now who worked with me on Dinoplex Cataclysm and parts of The Drain as well, who are Meredith Silver and Eric Cahill. They're two of my best friends, and now we just constantly collaborate on stuff. So working with friends in RPG stuff, close friends, is somewhat of a double-edged sword in that you already sort of know what your rapport is, and you can collaborate closely, and it can be a lot of fun to work with friends. But also, if things get tough, you're endangering not only your work relationships but also your personal relationships. So it's a little bit of a risky proposition, but thankfully Eric and Meredith and I get along very well, and it's very fun working with them.
You're so fortunate for having so many talented and reasonable friends to be able to tackle projects like this magnitude. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely very lucky. But it's very possible to just sort of get out there and meet cool people and collaborate. I think that the best thing you can do as a game designer is to just play games with people, and not only to have the experience of playing the games, but also meet other cool RPG designers and like see what they're doing and become friends with them and pick things up along the way.
So your Kickstarter raised over $15,000, which I was incredibly happy because it means that you met your final stretch goal, which means that I think you're now obligated to do a short epilogue film.
Yeah, I think so. Meredith made the video for the campaign, which I think is just to die for great. I was so happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
She made physical ship models and filmed all of it herself with these great like cheesy sci-fi practical effects and all that. And then Eric worked on the sound. So we're gonna do it again and make an epilogue film. We're talking about maybe getting into stop motion and all this other stuff. So we have some pretty cool ideas. I think it will be as cool, if not cooler, than the campaign trailer. But yeah, I don't know, there's not a lot of people do ads, like video ads and trailers for their stuff. We made one for Dinoplex, which was another adventure that I made.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Meredith made that one too. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun making this ancillary stuff. We also do, audio tracks and stuff to accompany adventures, and it's all fun to do.
I think anytime you get to mix in other media, it creates these really fun and memorable artifacts that you just don't see anymore. I love them. I love seeing it. So thank you for doing that.
All credit to Mothership proper for setting the trend of including audio tracks with their stuff. Like Epsilon 14, Haunting of Epsilon 14, I think was the first one they included some cool audio things, and then all of us third-party devs have been copying them.
They set a high bar, and the third-party devs keep exceeding the bar. It's good
well,
stuff.
No, there's a lot of great stuff coming out from the third-party community, and I'm proud to work alongside them and know them.
I mean, this past Zine Quest was an absolute misery for me because there was too many amazing things out there, especially for Mothership.
Yeah, there were, I think, 6 Mothership campaigns. It was pretty crazy. All of us coordinated a little bit to help boost each other's stuff, and we reviewed each other's campaign pages and stuff, so we made sure we were all in the best possible position that we could be. And yeah, everyone did really, really well, and I am super proud of all of us.
It's so surprising to me in a way that, you would almost consider these other third-party devs from Mothership to be competition in a way, because there's only so many dollars to go around. But that's not the case for role-playing games for some reason. It's, it's almost like a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, I definitely think of it that way. I mean, it's kind of hard to analyze, the exact technical reasons of and economic forces in role-playing games, and I can't really make any hard claims, but indie role-playing scene in particular is such a tiny portion of the overall hobby, and it can only benefit us to make cool stuff and boost each other and just bring more and more people in, particularly to our small little ecosystems like Mothership, because the more cool, the better stuff that's out there, the more we all benefit. And yeah, I definitely don't view the fellow third-party devs as competition. I think that a win for them is a win for all of us.
I've been continually and joyfully surprised by the support of the indie community. It's just good to see. It's a good hobby, damn it. It's just nice people.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little before, but I think the largest monument to how good the indie community is Dissident Whispers. I mean, like 100 people came together and made something amazing in 10 days, and it just worked. We just did it. It was a challenge to do, but even from the inside, people were just on board to make something cool and do good in the world. I feel very optimistically and positive towards the indie community.
So I know you've been on record saying that you feel that The Drain is your best work so far, but does it have dinosaurs in it?
It does not. However, my other adventure, which I mentioned a couple times here now, is Dinoplex Cataclysm. Absolutely has several dinosaurs.
You took my bait. Thank you. So tell me about Dinoplex Cataclysm, my favorite pamphlet-based role-playing game adventure.
My friends Eric Meredith and I, we were cooling down from Dissident Whispers, and we were playing games together and chatting, and we said, why don't we all do something in Mothership together? And we were spitballing ideas, and someone said, Jurassic Park in space. We were all like, yeah, let's do that. So we did that. And so Dinoplex Cataclysm is about a dinosaur theme park chain called the Dinoplex, that there are these space stations that host a Jurassic Park-esque theme park with roving dinosaurs. And as you might expect from Mothership, your players can visit the station, visit the Dinoplex, but something is inevitably going to go wrong and unleash the dinosaurs upon the hapless visitors, and your players are going to have to battle and evade dinos to get off the station. It's maybe tooting my own horn a little too much, but Dinoplex is fun. It's a really fun adventure, and I love playing it.
I mean, it's Jurassic Park in space. You can't miss with that. It's brilliant. So did you have like a big dartboard where you're just throwing darts and like, okay, first one is boom, Jurassic Park. Second one is space station.
Yeah. I think that might have been the first idea. I think it was Meredith's idea. It was just Jurassic Park in space. We didn't need to go any further.
Right. No, you hit gold the first swing of the axe. That's perfect.
Yep.
So for Kickstarter backers for the Drain, you gave out, like I mentioned earlier, your funnel rules just in advance so we could get going right away. Mm-hmm. And you also said, hey, if you're playing these certain well-known Mothership adventures like Pound of Flesh or
Dead Planet.
Dead Planet, yep, that's a good one. You also included one for Dinoplex, which I was cracking up because you were like, yeah, don't give them weapons. Give them whatever tchotchkes they can get from the gift shop.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, okay, you're going to assault something like a stuffed animal Triceratops. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the idea. I don't know. I have always thought that starting with nothing is kind of really liberating in a game, where you literally have to just look around at your environment and like the odd random bit of stuff you have, like, you know, a dinosaur plushie and a T-Rex claw grabber on a stick. So, you know, fend off a pterodactyl with that, go. That's fun. And I mean, the glory of a funnel is that, you know, you'll have enough weird stuff between all of your people that you can MacGyver something together. And if that all fails, then at least you have, you know, 20 bodies you can throw at a problem and just use mob tactics. With the funnel, you become the mob of velociraptors taking down the T-Rex.
There's just something so joyful about a funnel and with that, because you can't min-max. Like, you're not some badass coming in to kick ass. You're an insurance adjuster on vacation with your family, and you know, things go pear-shaped. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard not to have a good time with a funnel. It's just fun.
I know you're busy with trying to get the fulfillment through for the Kickstarter. I don't think people really appreciate how much work goes in after the campaign closes. Even with, like you had with The Drain, you had the book fully written, play tested, ready to go. But there's a ton of things after the fact. Could you give like a brief rundown of what happens once the campaign closes to the time you get the books out to people?
Well, I don't know if I can do it briefly, but I'll do my best. So, okay, you run your Kickstarter. You watch the countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It ends. Kickstarter plays a little fireworks animation on your screen, which is a real thing. It's pretty cool. Then you're like, all right, I did it. Now what? So now you do things like check your Kickstarter dashboard to see all of the people who had credit card errors and panic about, oh my God, I now have 10% less money than I thought I did. And then you slightly panic less once you check it a week later and find that Kickstarter has automatically resolved a good portion of those. So that's something. Many people, when you're doing a project that's on a largish scale like mine, will use a post-campaign pledge manager, like something like BackerKit. I used a company called Pledge Manager, and what that does is lets you load all of your backers into another website and keep all their information, and then you can manage collecting addresses for physical fulfillment there and letting people purchase add-ons and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I had to spend a good week or two setting that up, and then dealing with all of the subsequent customer service questions and complaints that arise from now having 1,400 people have direct access to my email address and trying to navigate these other websites and fulfillment services and all that. So there's that. There's a lot of administrative stuff that just sort of piles on. So like I am now basically a full-time customer service manager. And then there's, moving on from that administrative stuff, there's art direction, there's coordinating layout and proofreading, and then there's coordinating printing and shipping logistics and all that stuff. If you're like me and you're a crazy person who does 8 or 9 stretch goals that all funded, now I have to do all that stuff. As an aside, where one of our stretch goals is a tie-in adventure pamphlet, which continues the adventure from the drain and goes into hell itself. That was so cool. The author, Izzy B, did such a good job with it. I said, oh, hell with it. Let's make that a zine. So instead of a single page pamphlet, is now like a 16-page zine. And of course, all the backers are still getting it. So anyway, so I'm doing things like developing and editing that, and then hiring artists for that and layout people and coordinating all that. So it's very involved. It's very involved.
You must be so organized to be able to pull that off. Like, it must be just nearly impossible to get everything to go exactly according to schedule. But it seems so far that you've done a wonderful job of that.
I'll say this. I don't think I've always been an organized person, but doing RPG work has forced me to become a somewhat organized person. I now regularly employ things like spreadsheets to keep track of my life now. And on top of managing all that stuff, I'm also working on several other projects at the same time in various stages. I have a short Mothership zine called Picket Line Tango that my friend Emily wrote that I am producing to put out next month. So it's a lot.
Gosh.
It's a lot that I'm doing. But I don't know, it feels good. It's RPG work is very rewarding.
So you like to stay busy, and you've achieved that goal, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that I like to stay busy, but I find at least with RPG stuff that I can live with being extremely busy.
It's clear that your heart is in the work, and it comes out in the quality of what you're producing and the amount. It's you got a fan, you know. I like seeing what you're making. I can't wait to see more of it.
Well, thank you very much. I'm truly flattered.
Ian, I want to be sensitive to your time. Thank you so much for spending the evening with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a good talk and a fun time.
Excellent. Hey, you have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
And that's all for this week's episode. I want to thank Ian one more time for coming on the show. I was a backer of The Drain. I'll be a backer of anything else he comes out with, because after getting my hands on the product, it's amazing. I've already played Mothership once for this podcast, but next time I play it, I'm playing The Drain and I'm using the funnel rules, and it's going to be a hell of a time. If you want to support Ian, and you should, I will give you some links in the show notes that you can go right to his websites, whether that's through Exalted Funeral for physical products or through Itch for his PDFs. Go and fill his coffers with money and fill your life with awesome games. You're worth it, and he's worth it. If you want to support the Pot of Blunders, there's a bunch of ways you can do that. You can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That helps us reach a bigger audience. You can tell a friend to listen to us, and that helps us increase our numbers. And if they tell a friend, and they tell a friend, soon we will reach a level of world domination that we truly and richly deserve. Lastly, you can always join us on Patreon, patreon.com/potofblunders. Get yourself access to a lot of exclusive podcast content, an exclusive game with more to come, as well as our Discord, opportunities to come on the show and game with us, or review an episode of the Street Sharks. Come on, you know you want to. I mean, all kinds of stuff. We're here to build a community, and so far so good, but we want you to be part of it. So if you're listening to this, please consider helping us in some way, whether that's monetary, whether that's sharing the good news of the Pot of Blunders, and just know that no matter what you do, we love you, and we appreciate you listening to us. We know you have choices, and you made the best one ever. Us. And on that, for the Pot of Blunders, I've been Nate Magnuski, and as always, may all your D's be 12s.
Thank you.